Hey guys, welcome back to Revealing Biblical Truths. In this video, we'll be going through the book of 1 Samuel chapters 26 through 31. Before we get started, go ahead and like the video, subscribe, share, and turn on post notifications so you can see future videos just like this one. In chapter 26, the Ziphites told Saul that David was in Hachilah. So Saul went to the wilderness, choosing 3,000 men with him to find David. And David saw Saul approaching and sent out spies to make sure he was. And David came down where Saul was, and said to Ahimelech the Hittite and Abishai, "Who will come down here with me?" And Abishai said he would go. So they came down by night, and Saul was sleeping in a trench, and his men were around him. And Abishai told David, "Yah had delivered him to you. Let him smite him." But David said, "No, do not kill him, for who can go up against Yah's anointed and be innocent?" And he said, "If Yah wants him to be dead, he can smite him. But take his spear and water, and let's go away." And so they did, and no one saw them. And this was because Yah put them in a deep sleep. So David went to the other side and stood on a hill, and shouted to the people, "Won't you answer Abner?" And Abner said, "Who are you that cries to the king?" And David said to him, "Aren't you brave? Haven't you protected your king because someone came to destroy the king, and you are worthy of death because you didn't protect your master? And look, see, his spear and his water are taken." And Saul knew that David's voice was him, and he said, "Is this David?" And he said, "Yes, it is I. Why did you pursue me? What have I done? Let me speak to you. If Yah stirred you up against me, then let me offer an offering to him. But if it was because of men, then let them be cursed, for they have driven me out from having inheritance. So don't let my blood fall before Yah." Then Saul said, "I have sinned. So return, David, for I will not harm you any more. I have played the fool and erred exceedingly." And David said, "Here is your spear. Let one of your men come and fetch it. And Yah will render to every man his righteousness and faithfulness. For Yah has delivered me from you today, and I would not go against his anointed. And just like this, let Yah deliver me out of all tribulation." And Saul said to David, "You are blessed, and you shall do great things and prevail." So David went on his way, and Saul returned to his place. In chapter 27, David said, "I will die one day by the hand of Saul, so I should escape to the land of the Philistines, and then Saul will give up, and I will be free of him." So David left and took 600 men with him to Achish, the king of Gath. And David dwelt there with his men and wives. And Saul found out when he went to Gath, and he didn't go after him. And David said to Achish, "If I've found grace with you, let me find a place to live, because you have this royal city." So Achish gave him the city of Ziklag. And David dwelt there for 1 year and 4 months. And then he invaded the Geshurites and the Gezrites and the Amalekites, and utterly smote them, and took their animals, and came back to Achish. And Achish said, "What did you do?" And David said, "We went south and fought all these nations, and I brought tidings to Gath, saying that they might tell on us." And Achish believed David, saying, "He made Israel abhor him, so he will be my servant forever." In chapter 28, the Philistines went to war against Israel, and Achish said to David, "Will you go with me?" And David said, "You know what I can do." So Achish made him his right-hand man. And Samuel died, and Israel lamented him and buried him in Ramah. And Saul had driven out all the wizards and conjurers of the land, and the Philistines had gathered at Shunem, and Saul gathered Israel together at Gilboa. And when Saul saw the Philistines, he was scared, and he asked Yah, but Yah did not answer him, not even with visions, or even the Urim or the prophets. So Saul said, "Go find a woman with a familiar spirit," aka a demon, "and I can ask her what to do." So Saul disguised himself and took 2 men and came to the witch of Endor. And he asked her to bring up a spirit who I will name. And the woman said, "I know what you have done. You threw us all out of the land and laid a snare for my life." And Saul swore to her that by Yah that he would not hurt her. Then she asked, "Who shall I bring up?" And he said, "Samuel." And when the woman saw Samuel, she screamed loud and spoke to Saul, saying, "Why did you lie to me? You are Saul." And he said, "Don't be afraid. What did you see?" And she said, "I saw Elohim coming up from the earth, and it looked like an old man, and was covered with a robe." And Saul knew it was Samuel, and bowed himself to the ground. And Samuel said to Saul, "Why did you disturb my rest and bring me up?" And Saul said, I'm very distressed, and the Philistines are about to attack, and Yah is not answering me, so I called you, so you can tell me what I should do." Then Samuel said, "Why are you asking me, seeing as Yah has departed from you and become your enemy?" And Yah said, "He has taken the kingdom from you, and given it to your neighbor, even David, because you did not obey Yah. And also Yah will deliver Israel with you to the Philistines tomorrow, and you and your sons will be with me." And Saul fell down because of what he had heard. And the woman came to Saul and said, "I've obeyed you, now listen to me. Here is some bread, take it, and then leave." But he refused and would not eat. But his servants pled with him, and finally he did eat. So she went and killed a calf and cooked it with unleavened bread, and took it to Saul and his servants. So they ate and went away that night. In chapter 29, the Philistines gathered together at Aphek, and the Israelites were at Jezreel. And the Philistines passed by, and then David and his men also. And Achish said to his princes, "He's on my side." But the princes were upset with him, and told him to tell David to leave and go back to his home and not join the battle. But Achish called David and said, "Surely you have been upright and good, but my princes don't like you, so go in peace and return." And David said, "What have I done?" And Achish said, "You are a good man in my sight, like an angel even, but my princes do not want you to join this battle." So David rose up early and left in the morning to return to Gath, and the Philistines then went to Jezreel. In chapter 30, after 3 days, David and his men came back to Ziklag, and the Amalekites had invaded and smote Ziklag and burned it down, taking the women captive. So David came to the city and cried with his 2 wives were being taken captive, but he prayed to Yah. And David told Abiathar the priest to bring him the ephod, and Abiathar brought it to him, and David asked Yah if he should pursue the Amalekites, or would they beat me instead? And Yah said, "Pursue, and you will overtake them and recover everything." So David went with his 600 men and came to the river Besor. 200 stayed there, and then David pursued there and found an Egyptian and gave him food and water and cake of figs and raisins, and he revived because he had eaten nothing and drank nothing in 3 days. And David said, "Where do you belong and where are you from?" And he said, "I am from Egypt and a servant to an Amalekite, and he left me here because I fell sick." And David asked if he would bring him down to where his troops are. And the Egyptian said, "If you swear you won't kill me or deliver me to my master, then I will bring you down to the troops." So he brought him down, and the Amalekites were being casual, eating and drinking and dancing and enjoying their spoils. And David smote them from twilight to the evening of the next day, and no one escaped, except 400 people on camels. And David recovered everything they took away, and rescued his 2 wives and all the animals too. And he came to the 200 men that did not cross the Besor river, and they met him. David saluted them. But wicked men of Belial who went with David said because they didn't go with him that they shouldn't get any spoils. But David said, "Not so, and that Yah had given us these things, so we should not hold back from giving." So from that day he made it a statute and an ordinance kept for Israel. And David came to Ziklag and sent the spoils to the elders of Judah and his friends. In chapter 31, the Philistines fought against Israel, and Israel fled down the mountain of Gilboa, and the Philistines killed Jonathan and Abinadab and Melchishua, Saul's sons. And then the archers hit Saul, but Saul told his armor-bearer, "Draw my sword and kill me with it, lest these uncircumcised men come and kill me and abuse me." But the armor-bearer wouldn't do it because he was afraid. So Saul took a sword and fell on it and died. And then the armor-bearer saw what happened and took his own sword and did the same. And then Israel came and saw that Saul and his men were dead, and then they fled. And the Philistines cut off Saul's head and took his armor off and sent them to their cities to publish it. And they put his armor up in the temple of Ashtaroth, their false god, and they nailed his body to the wall of Bethshan. And when the people of Jabesh Gilead heard it, valiant men came and took Saul's body and his sons' bodies, and came to Jabesh and burnt them there. And they took their bones and buried them under a tree in Jabesh, and they fasted for 7 days. So this is a lesson for us all. If we obey the voice of Yah and his words, we will be delivered from our enemies. But if we fail to listen to him, we will be destroyed. And that is the end of this video. Thanks for watching, and until next time, Shalom.